I want to explain the difference between who and whom by a couple of simple examples on the board, but before, you must know who has two roles, subject and object, while whom has only one role, object. Now, pay attention to my first example. How many people do I have in my first example? She and him. I have two people in my first example. She is the subject of my sentence, and him is the object of my sentence. So for making question for the subject, which is she, I use who, and for making question for him, I can use both who and whom, because who has two roles, subject and object. It is very easy to make the question with who, because you just put who in the beginning of the sentence and the rest of the sentence. Look, who talked to him about the next holiday? Here, we want to make the question for she. So she is absent. Maybe this is your question, why we don't have did in the first question. Because when your subject is absent in the question, there is no auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb is used when we have the subject in the question. For example, if we make the question for him, we can use both who and whom. Therefore, the object of the question is absent, but the subject is here. Because we have the subject, so we should use an auxiliary verb, that we have it here. So let's read it. Who or whom did she talk to about the next holiday? One more example. He sends letters to me every Monday. Again, ask yourself this question. How many people do I have in this example? Two again. He is my subject and me is my object. So for making question for he, I should use who. And for making question for me, because it is an object, I can use both who and whom. Now the question, who sends letters to me every Monday? Because I want to make question for the subject of my sentence, my subject is absent, so there is no auxiliary verb, right? Now, if I want to make the question for the object of my sentence, which is me, I can use both who and whom, but this time, the subject exists in my question. Look, whom or who does he send letters to every Monday? My subject is in the sentence. Because I have the subject, I should use an auxiliary verb for the existence of this subject. And my object is the case of the question, and it is absent in the sentence. Finally, I want to highlight the difference between who and whom one more time. Who can be used both for subject and object, but whom is only used for object. One more thing, if I have the subject itself in that question, I should use an auxiliary. But if there is no subject in the question, there is no need for an auxiliary verb. Now, I want to give you a sentence and you should make examples for both who and whom. My sentence is this. I saw him at the party last night. Make your questions with who and whom.